go.
Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, my name is Resonance22, and today I have the pleasure of co-casting some expert Age of Empires 2 games with ZeroEmpires. This is going to be a 1 versus 1 Regicide mirror match as part of the Escape Gaming Masters Regicide Tournament. Thank you so much for having me today, Zach. Would you like to do the honors of introducing the players and their civs?
Sure, we're currently in the the upper bracket round 2. This is actually a best of 1 between TheViper and MBL. The winner of this game faces Tato in the winners bracket final, and the loser drops down to play against Backed in an elimination match, which will be coming up after this. So we'll be starting with Viper over to the east of the map. He's in the yellow, the token yellow color of the Viper, as the Turks. And since it's a mirror match off to the west of the map in the purple, we have MBL playing as the Turks as well. The map, it is Dingos, and it's been quite a controversial map so far.
Yes, indeed. Dingos is a very strange map. I believe it comes as part of the one of those like Ensemble Studios custom maps from back in the day. It's sort of like Continental, but I've seen some skeletons on the water, so I guess that's something that makes it a bit different. But one thing that is different is that last game the players were more connected on land than they are this time, but Zach, it looks like there are only 2 very narrow shallows.
Yeah, this does seem like a different generation. Every single time we've seen this map so far, there has been this kind of landmass in the middle, but there's usually been a connection on the north or the south side as well. This time around, it is just the 2 shallows, like you say, so maybe even more focus on the water this time. And I can't help but feel that that's going to play slightly into the favor of Viper here, who is arguably the strongest water player in the world at the moment anyway. And since this may be harder to attack on land, that could work for him. There is also a lot of fish on this map, and this time it does seem a little more even. I'd say that MBL has a few less. He does have a lot in the corner though, so he's put his dock there and he'll be able to fish those easily. And Viper has also put his dock right on the money as well. But Viper does seem to have a few more fish available in the long term in this one.
In fact, he has so many more available that the Viper, so early on in the game, because this is Regicide and you do start with 500 wood, has 2 docks. He's got one in the corner since the fish on this map are just really clumped up. He actually has a dock on the far right corner, and then he has one below his base. And I guess the skeletons spawn with the fish too because the fish ate them? I'm not really sure. Right now, MBL only has 1 dock in the left side, but we'll see if he puts down a second.
Yeah, and so far today we've seen that a lot of players have been building this second dock, and it's been important to keep a large number of fish out on the water. That extra food that you get through having those fishing ships out is really substantial. And although there are a lot of sheep on this map, you can see Viper here with a hell of a lot of sheep under his TC and probably more on the way over. And the same, well, I want to say the same for MBL. If he finds the sheep, he should find the sheep, right? I mean, yeah, they're down to the south of his island, I suppose you could say. So there is a lot of sheep, but it doesn't make up for the fact that when you have an extra dock, you're producing more economy units, and the more economy units you have, the more resources you're going to have to play with.
That is very true, and that's why these players put such an emphasis on getting control of the water in the early game. There are a couple differences between the build orders that we see. So the Viper not quite on gold yet, but MBL with a relatively early gold mine. In fact, he's had 2 gold miners there for a little while, going for a bit of a palisade wall right now. I wonder why he's walling so far back, considering that he knows the shallows are there. But right now he's just trying to create a makeshift funnel underneath his town center, try and keep himself alive. I would expect to see a greater emphasis this game on fire galleys compared to the previous one, just because they're, or at least just late game ships, just because there is so, like the gaps between the 2 players are very, very thin. So perhaps even late game cannon galleons could come into play.
Yeah, absolutely. If we get that far, I mean, I'm really questioning. It's very peculiar the way that MBL has walled this. He's spent a lot of resources and time making these palisades to make a funnel towards his TC, when 5 or 6 palisades over here would basically do the same job, right? it's strange, and I wonder if that's sort of tipping his cap that or showing us that he's going to try and do something a little different. I'm a little unsure myself. At the moment, he does have 2 docks, and he does go for the faster feudal time, and also creating a couple of fire galleys so far as well. But certainly not a huge commitment to the water, it seems, just yet. He's actually adding the blacksmith right now. Yeah, it's interesting. It's certainly not a standard build, let's put it that way.
It is certainly not a standard build. Very bizarre. And it's good to see these players doing their research and putting their docks in the correct location. Just due to the way the fish spawn on Dingos, it's very good to actually put your docks in the corners where there are these clusters, or in this case where the Viper had scouted. There was a huge cluster right underneath his town center. I can't wait to see what's in MBL's playbook. He's gone for the blacksmith in the market, so going to be a reasonably quick Castle Age timing, but what's he going to do after that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. He went up relatively quickly. He's got relatively a small number of fish compared to the Viper. It's pretty obvious that Viper's going for the fast castle here. You know, he's going market blacksmith straight away. He's got enough food and gold to click up to the Castle Age straight away as well. It's a seamless transition. The market and the blacksmith complete. The resources are there. He can click up. MBL, it seems a little bit more janky, though he will also click up as well to the Castle Age now, but he's clicking up with 10 less fish, and I feel like that is a really substantial difference that we just can't ignore while they both send out, at the moment, the first sort of fire galleys to get a feel for what's going on.
Yeah, it's great to point out that is one of the major differences, is that the Viper has so much food in the bank. He had well over 1,000 when MBL had barely 600, and that's because he built that second dock a lot sooner, has been taking advantage of his fish. Right now, the 2 fire galleys have collided, but the Viper gets the first strike, and as we all know from watching the riveting Fire Galley Micro, getting the first strike when you're just kind of auto-attacking and, you know, attack moving in one direction really makes the difference. So you know what MBL's going to do? He's just going to go straight for the fishing ships, because there's no way that he can actually fight that fire galley. And he will be able to actually take down 2 before losing his own fire galley, which I would say is a reasonable exchange.
And he's going to do the same in the south as well. It's 2v1, so he's going to go for the fish. Viper trying to micro the fish away. There's no way you can avoid the fire galley, really. It's just delaying the inevitable. But he can at least buy time for his own fire galleys to whittle down MBLs as well. Viper with another villager here, looking to perhaps go for another dock. But there's a wolf on patrol. And that villager may go down. It's a close one, but nope, the fire galley is there to save the day.
I never thought I'd see that one. But yes, the fire galley will rescue that builder with a meager 60 HP remaining. And another dock going down for the Viper. If that dock was like a little bit further to the left, it would be a bit better. But I think he also wants to try and get some coverage on the fish that he has on the right of that dock as well. So I think in the end, ultimately, it will balance out. And like we expected, both these players putting a very heavy emphasis on the fire galleys for the early game. And now MBL and the Viper both up to the Castle Age. I expect to see that war galley tech coming out immediately, which oddly enough upgrades the fire galleys to fire ships.
Yeah, and oddly enough, something that MBL is not concerned with, it seems, because war galley is not in the playbook, as you would say, for MBL this time around. He is actually doing bowsaw, and that's about it. He's there you go. War galley is now coming in. I'm pretty sure, like, I saw him doing padded archer armor or something, and then he cancelled it. Meanwhile, Viper's already done the tech. He's got fire ships now. He's also done the horse. He did horse collar, and then he went into heavy plow as well. So Viper's eco is in a good position right now for this Castle Age boom up. Still has 1 million sheep left, and he's starting to produce some Janissaries as well. We've got Janissaries coming out for MBL as both players sort of prepare to make a hostile takeover of the center of the map.
Yes, that they are. And of course, since this is Regicide, remember, if you lose your king, you lose the game. But you also get some defensive benefits, like you start with that free castle, additional resources, and I think this really incentivizes a lot of unique unit play, at least with civs that have somewhat viable Castle Age unique units, like the Turks actually do. So the Turks Janissary is coming down, padded archer armor for both of them, and it's going to come down to some accuracy here as well as careful micro, but the Viper, known very well for his micro, will actually be the first player to lose a Janissary.
Indeed, and MBL didn't actually cancel it, my bad. I don't know why I thought he cancelled it. I don't know, I didn't see the Janissaries at that point, and now it makes a lot of sense. MBL here going to have a big advantage here, not just in numbers, but the fact he had that little hill to work with as well. Viper, of course, reinforcing, and there's plenty more Janissaries where that came from. Overall, army counts are relatively close, 13 and 12. MBL slightly ahead, and the micro goes on. Janissaries are incredibly inaccurate, and unless you're the Portuguese, there's nothing you can do to combat that, really.
Yeah, that they are, but the Viper with some excellent splits, and notice how these players, both on the land and the water, are doing their best to try and spread the damage across all of their units, and also focus fire down the low HP ones, which is how the Viper managed to come out on top of that fire galley exchange on the top, and that means it gets to mop up all of those fishing ships, a huge blow to MBL's economy, and MBL has to retreat with his Janissaries because the Viper manages to out-micro that one as well. Is there a demo in the dock? What will MBL's response be?
There were demos in the docks, but they've seemed to have disappeared now. He must have used them earlier on. MBL now is really far behind. Behind in military and behind by 17 fish. Also behind by 3 vills as well. So Viper really laying this one out right here. We could see a relatively quick game at this rate because this will start to snowball. MBL needs a way to deal with the massive fishing advantage of Viper. He has to kill them one way or another. And one way to do that is a fire ship and a demolition ship, which are coming into the heart of Viper's fishing economy. Viper will, in a matter of time, get a ship out to defend this, but that fire will do a toll on Viper's numbers for now.
That wasn't an excellent demo shot, but thank goodness he wasn't using attack move like I see some players do, or that would have been an absolute disaster. I mean, that's good enough. All he needs to do is just pick off a bunch of these fishing ships, and the Viper just won't have time to respond to this. And what's critical is that in the middle of the map there are even more spooky skeletons because MBL's army got cut off. That's such a narrow choke point with those shallows that MBL's army got split in half, and that makes it easy pickings for these sniper Janissaries, giving the Viper both an eco and a military lead, but he is in danger of losing his fishing ships. And you know how he's going to protect them? Is that a monk? Looks like a monk.
Can he get the conversion? Nope. That's kind of messy. I feel like Viper could have microed his monk there.
Dude.
All he had to do was move him away from the shoreline. Believe it or not, the monk does outrange the fire ship. So I feel like that should have worked. But Viper, being the micro god that he is, didn't actually micro his monk for some reason. Maybe he just thought that, hey, I've got enough time to get the conversion here.
Yeah, I am surprised he kept that monk so close to the shoreline there, but he did indeed. And, well, he looks like he's in a pretty promising position here. He still lost a lot of fishing ships. For some reason, okay, if anyone subs to me during these games when I cast with Zach, I'll thank you at the end of the game, not during the game, by the way. And now the Viper is going to start pushing in with his Janissaries. What can MBL really do to claw his way back into the game? One quick little thing that he is doing that is cool is that he doesn't have his king inside his castle. That way he doesn't accidentally ungarrison it with the gather point and then just lose it.
Yeah, that happens. I think Viper actually does have his king in the castle, so he's, living on the edge here, living life on the edge. But that's just the way it goes. I think at this stage, Viper is, as we said before, kind of really snowballing. He's even grabbed a relic so far. He's got a lot more food in the bank, he's got a lot more gold, and he's thinking about that Imperial Age, but he's also thinking about pushing forward because he has got a large number of Janissaries. And that's not necessarily just from producing more, it's from continually, winning the small skirmishes in the middle. It's allowed him to get a greater number of Janissaries on the field, and now he can push it.
Yeah, and I mean, MBL's micro has been solid too. We see how he's been splitting one Janissary off, which draws the fire, and then he walks perpendicular to those shots to try and juke them. But I love that the Viper actually has a monk in with his army, which will not only allow him to threaten some conversions from a distance, it also allows him to keep his Janissary army relatively healthy, and then just keep snowballing this military advantage. The game, though, is relatively close, because MBL made an excellent play of going for the Viper's fishing economy. The question is, can he hold on, because the 8 range from these Janissaries applies just so much pressure to those farmers, and the Viper is determined to keep his advantage and press it further with the castle.
Yeah, that will be a lot of villagers coming forward to drop that castle on the front. He's fairly confident he can pull it off because he sees he has a larger number of Janissaries. The only way that MBL can really win here is either some insane micro or if he has a second castle, which he doesn't. So Viper can pretty much guarantee that this castle will come up. MBL is trying to get a castle, but he just doesn't have the stone for it right now. And at the same time, Viper is on the way up to the Imperial Age, where he will be able to start making some trebs. This TC from MBL, for example, will be very easy pickings for him. And I think that Viper really is in a position to close this game out once that Imperial Age upgrade comes in. Like we say, it's really going to be a big advantage for him at that point.
Yeah, that's going to be the defining element of this game, absolutely, is that Imperial Age technology. We've seen it time and time again. If you end up in a stalemate situation in the Castle Age and you can't break through those castles and town centers, happens all the time. You got two options. Either one, you amass up a ton of battering rams, which is very expensive, or two, you just get to the Imperial Age first and you start safely sieging your opponent from a distance with some trebuchets. And whoever gets the first trebuchets out generally has the advantage, and the Viper is going to really get there a lot quicker just because MBL is investing all of his food and gold into Janissaries on the defense since he's been so far behind. And wow, Siege Workshop coming down from the Viper too, taking advantage of that free chemistry to make some bombard cannons, which have 100 HP and not 80 as the Turks do. So they're even more devastating. MBL's in big trouble.
Yeah, and the nice thing about preparing for the bombard cannons is that they're able to deal with any counter trebs, so you're that much more likely to win that treb war, let's say. So there you go, the trebuchet coming out straight away here, and at the back side of the map, Viper's kind of standing by with some demos. He's going to prevent MBL from cleaning up any more fish, and this entire time, he's still kept this fishing advantage, and that's enough for MBL. He's going to call GG right there, as MBL will realize or recognize that I am too far from the Imperial Age, and I cannot stop what is about to come my way.
Yeah, I think it's fair for him to call GG there. The moment that he sees the Imperial Age coming down, he knows he has no answer to the trebs. One of the best answers to the trebs is bombard cannons, which you only get in the Imperial Age or your own defensive trebs. And really, there's just no way I think that MBL could have come back from that one. That game was actually so close that for the first time in our co-casting history over the last 3 years, I think we can just go straight into the next game. I just gotta grab that replay.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Can you? It wasn't 50 minutes? What is this? Zack and Rezcast? No, can't be.
There's a first time for everything. So, yeah, let me just download that replay. I think we can jump straight into it, and I'll just download it right now.
I agree with that. And we're actually going to see a new map today, or a map that we haven't seen so far today. It's not a brand new map for the tournament, of course. It is the one and only Hill Fort. And I will, again, grab that rec like you say as well.
It's MBL versus... wait, is the replay in there? Yeah, it is. MBL versus Backed.
MBL versus Backed.
Okay, download.
And this is an elimination match right now. As we take a look at the bracket here on the stream, you'll be able to see that, MBL's dropped down to play versus Backed here. It's not updated for some reason. Let me try and refresh that. I don't know. There it is. That's fixed now. But now there it is. Okay, cool. So, MBL versus Backed, followed by Doubt versus Cloud. Those are the two remaining matches of the day.